Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I have the honor and privilege of talking with Linda Bloom. And Linda Bloom is a licensed clinical social worker. She has served in the psychotherapy, seminar leader, and international consultant, practicing relationship counseling for over 40 years. She is considered to be an expert in the field of human relations. The size of the groups that Linda works with range from a dozen to several hundred people. She is a regular presenter at Esalen Institute in Big Sur, California, Kirkpalu in Lenox, Massachusetts, and the Multiversity in Scotts Valley, California. She has spoken at several conferences sponsored by the International Transpersonal Association, the Association for Transpersonal Psychology, the Association for Humanistic Psychology, and the Northern California Mindfulness Institute. She is co-author with her husband, Charles Bloom, of 4 books, 101 Things I Wish I Knew When I Got Married, Simple Lessons to Make Love Last, which has sold more than 108,000 copies, Secrets of a Great Marriage, Real Truth from Real Couples About Lasting Love, Happily Ever After, and 39 Other Myths About Love, and That Which Doesn't Kill Us, How One Couple Became Stronger at the Broken Places. She is a regular blogger on Psychology Today, Psych Central, Your Tango, and others such as Facebook and YouTube. She lives in Santa Cruz, California, and her website is www.bloomwork.com. Welcome, Linda.
I'm so happy to be with you, Barbara. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. So, I know that you and your husband work on relationships as it usually pertains to, say, married couples. But here today, we are talking to many singles. And relationship and communication are such a vital, important part of a quality relationship. And even meeting somebody and learning to know about them and them learning to know about you is an important thing to communicate effectively. So please share with us your knowledge about why communication is so important in a relationship and how our singles can benefit by this information.
Well, I'm from the communication school of thought. I just think it's the foundation that if you really know yourself well, that's a big if right there. If you commit yourself to really knowing who you are and where you're going, and you grow the qualities that allow you to have, for instance, courage to reveal who you really are, and you are attracting people who are similar and like-minded to you. For instance, if you're very interested in personal growth, we have a lot of people in our network who are passionate about personal growth, and you're not partnered yet, you may want to know how intensely important this is to you or not, so that you're likely to pick somebody who's in that realm with you. Now, if you find somebody that has all the other things that you're looking for, they're financially fit, they're sexually attractive, if they present well in your family dynamic, you know, that the family loves them right off, then you maybe can't have everything that you want in a partner, but to know what those things are that are so incredibly important to you, because the similarities are the glue that help the couple to stay connected to each other. Similar interests, similar values You can come from different backgrounds. You can come from, different ethnic groups, even different religious groups, but you have some core similarities. So that requires knowing ourselves well and putting that out there about what's important to us. And we're likely to attract people of similar orientation. But it may take some weeks or even months to find out whether we're a match, because don't people just present with their persona first? They're looking good, ego presentation. So you have to get past that and really get real with each other to see, are you similar enough? Then you work with the differences, because there are always differences too. And that's an important communication form also.
Agree. Okay. So what has been what would be your experience of people's biggest issues with communication?
Mm-hmm. Well, when often I talk with people, they think about communication as speaking, articulating well what they're feeling and what they're needing. And of course, part of communication is that. But the other part, which doesn't get enough significance and respect, is listening. And the couples who have the best relationships, they're champion listeners. They're black belt listeners. Do you know? And they don't take it for granted and listen with half an ear, because you can often have a lot of distortion, and the communication that's being sent to you can be garbled. You remember that old game we used to play when we were kids, telephone? By the time it got to the 30th person, it hardly resembled what it started with.
Exactly.
And to have good communication, you really need to show up and pay attention. And it's helpful to paraphrase what I hear you saying is, so that if you're a bit off the mark about something that's really important to the significant person that you're communicating with, you can straighten it out earlier before things really get out of whack. So that's one thing that's really important. The other thing that I think just trips so many people up is they don't appreciate the enormity of the amount of time that it takes to communicate thoroughly about who we are, what we feel, and what we value, and what lights us up, and what turns us off. Do you know where our sore spots are? Because we all have some. We bring them from family of origin. We bring them from previous adult relationships. And I find this again and again and again, Barbara, that people are staggered. Sometimes they've been in a relationship for a long time. And by the time they come to us, they haven't realized, we just haven't been taking enough time to communicate with each other. Our work gets our best energies, the kids get everything that's left over, and the relationship is the failure to thrive baby in the family because it's not getting well nourished. If they only make one change and they start to spend more time communicating about things that really have heart and meaning, not picking up the groceries and, do we have any milk in the house, and who's picking up the cleaning, and who's taking John to soccer. Those are the logistics. They're important, but I'm talking about the meaningful conversations.
Yes.
When people start having those, the relationship tends to get more real, sometimes a little unsettled, and things that need to be addressed show themselves. But that's the way to make the descent into the dark things people may have been avoiding talking about, even thinking about, so that you can make the ascent. Because those incompletions don't go away. They just keep waiting around for you to take time to address them.
That's true. They do say, if you ignore it, it's not going to go away.
No, it doesn't go away. In fact, it deteriorates. It tends to, the incompletions can fester, and people can start to feel that they're not being heard, they're not being understood, they're not being valued, and it can drag the relationship down. When they start to make it a higher priority in their life, that's when the relationship tends to thrive.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I find that communicating is vital in a relationship in order to allow it to thrive and survive.
Mhm.
What other obstacles do you see in couples that you are talking with that can be resolved by learning how to communicate better?
Thank you for asking, because many of us, I'd go so far as to say most of us, didn't have excellent models. Even the couples who did have parents that loved each other and were respectful with each other, they still need to learn how to have a great relationship in our times. In many ways, it's more challenging. Every couple's on their own. So the learning deficit is a really important obstacle. I don't find that many couples have any deep-seated psychopathology that needs to be addressed. It's more often the case that it's this learning deficit. So that is an obstacle. They just have some holes where they need to learn some good communication skills, some good conflict resolution skills, some good negotiation skills, do you know? And
Mhm.
to be emotionally intelligent enough to be able to express the tender feelings of fear and sadness. Do you know those sometimes are hard for people to say? And sometimes it's hard for people to say how much they're in gratitude. Do you know how much they appreciate their partner and all their partner does for them? And all of these, the whole continuum, all the feelings, all the needs to be able to be expressed well. And often we didn't see that modeled. And we can learn it now. The couples who grew up in, for instance, my parents' generation, there was a lot more pressure from religious institutions, from family, and from the culture in general to stay together. I'm glad that there isn't so much press that make separated and divorced people bad and wrong. It's better when people have choices. But in a way, when people don't have the support that they need and they hit a rough patch, sometimes instead of buckling down and amping up their commitment and learning the skills that they need to have that breakdown become a breakthrough rather than a break up, is missing. And that can be an obstacle. I'm a little concerned, in fact, I'm a lot concerned about marriages going out of style. And this is the first time in history there ever been more unmarried women than married women in our culture. Yeah, this is historic. And so I just don't want people to give up too easily. I am brokenhearted by the fact that most all of the couples who are getting divorced haven't even gone, the majority of them, to even one marriage counseling session. I think that's a sad commentary, because there are family members who are more expert. There are friends in our own network. They're clergy, and there's gifted and talented couples counselors and authors and workshop leaders who could help move past the impasse. Not to just stand it, but to learn from the difficulties what it is that the relationship is needing to thrive. So there's no shortage of obstacles. There's plenty of obstacles, but
Mhm.
help for people to get past them.
What would you say would be an obstacle for people, and why they may choose not to go for help and just choose to throw away their marriage?
Well, there are other cultures who don't have the same hyper independence that we have here in the United States. It's like independence is worshiped. Do you know that is elevated? My husband and I, we're blessed to be able to teach in other places, and Brazil and Scandinavia and in Asia. I'm so grateful for that because it's helped me have a broader view. And when you're away from being in the United States where everybody's got a similar view, you can see the way networks and family and community is really prized elsewhere. And they don't have this hyper independence going. And I do think that it's an obstacle. I do think that it handicaps people in this country, that when they're confused, when they're upset, that rather than admitting I need help, God forbid, like dependency is a dirty word, do you know that they won't reach out to ask for help? People have the misguided notion that they ought to be able to figure it out for themselves. And we are attempting to do the most challenging and rewarding thing that we could possibly do with our life, is to create a loving partnership. Well, of course it's going to be challenging to do it. Of course we're going to have to up-level our skill set to get good at it. You don't just find the right person, then it all just flows from there. That's a big myth. We wrote a whole book about the myths. Do you know that people have a lot of zany notions that get in their way? People don't like it very much when I say relationship can be hard work sometimes. It doesn't have to be hard work the whole time you're in relationship, but there are going to be some periods where it's likely to be difficult. So you got to work out your commitment muscles and get strong in that area.
I would agree. I would agree that I would say people in the United States maybe have a little bit harder time being committed to that commitment of marriage, relationship, versus just walking away from something like that.
That's right. And I think I need to make it clear that I don't believe that every marriage needs to be saved or every relationship needs to be saved. I know that there are real, true deal breakers. If one of the partners is verbally, emotionally, or even physically abusive and doesn't want to get help for it. Addiction, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, sex addiction, and they don't want to get help for it. That's in the deal breaker category. There are some values differences, do you know, where the people really and truly are mismatched. But most of the people getting divorced, it's not in these deal breaker categories. You know, a lot of them could make it with the proper commitment and the support that is available. So I am actually making a plea to your listening audience that don't throw in the towel when it gets rough. That's just the challenge to become bigger, to become greater, to become more tolerant, accepting, you know, to take your projections back if somebody's mirroring something about yourself you're uncomfortable with. Do you know, this is a tremendous opportunity. And so many people, they lose their relationship with the glow of infatuation wears off. Man, that's just when you're getting down to the mature love there.
That's true. I would agree. So how can you work with a person who may be emotionally unavailable, maybe wants to stay in the relationship, but for some reason is very closed off and unable to connect with their emotional feelings in order to be able to appropriately communicate their needs and their wants to their partner?
Great question. There's a lot of that around. It's not all the men either.
Right.
Although it is mostly the men. They don't get as much permission to reveal. And we're well into the 21st century, but the big boys don't cry is still alive and well, I'm sorry to say. It's getting better, not quick enough to make me happy. But the person who is inviting, the one that's more closed to open up, needs to lead by example and reveal their inner life, their most tender, vulnerable feelings, and their needs. and to practice patience, because the other person, for whatever reasons, they grew up in a different culture, a different family, they don't have the same conviction about how essential and important it is to reveal and to express rather than repress. So if the person stands in the leadership role patiently, respectfully, not demanding, not critical, not judgmental, not what the hell's the matter with you, you're driving me crazy. It's like pulling teeth to get information out of you. I used to be one of those people who was not too skillful about the way I tried to draw my husband out. That's why the invitation has become such an important word for me. We need to be the invitation and be patient and persistent. We don't want to exacerbate the problem by letting them off of the hook. But the way we appeal to them, it would mean so much to me. I know that you love me, but I want to feel love shown to me by your showing that I'm special to you. Maybe you keep your image up with other people, but I'm the special one that you reveal your inner life to. I want to feel that I'm that important to you. And I know you have it in you because you picked me. And I'm expert in this area. And some wise part of you knew that I could help you with this. And a whole new world, the feeling world where life is going on, rich, vivid colors. If you can join me here, I want to be close to you. So I want to be emotionally intimate with you. That means I will share my innermost self with you, and I want you to share your innermost self with me. So let's do that. This is one of the fascinating games in town. And I know maybe you're not too good at it right now, but you could get really good at this, and our relationship is going to really be going for the gold then.
I mean, those are great phrases to use to connect to somebody, to hopefully make them feel supported in their vulnerability to be able to open up to the other person.
That's right. I dig you. I'm into you. I love you. I chose you. Of all the thousands of people I could have chosen, because I want to be close to you. I want us to really deeply know each other. Because, my husband and I did the study of the happiest couples we could find. It was so much fun to interview them. After years of being with suffering couples and struggling couples and bitter couples and angry couples, to find the happiest ones we could find and let them tell us in their own words their secrets of success. They make their relationship a priority. They wouldn't go a week with having a check-in about what's really going on with each other. My husband and I do that every day. We don't just do once a week anymore. We see how essential it is, and so we don't have tolerance for letting that slide. But a lot of the men revealed to me when we were doing that study, she's always been so much in touch with her feelings. She's always been more capable and more adept in sharing her needs with me. And she modeled it for me, and I have learned to do it well now. And I'm so grateful. It was sweet to hear them acknowledge the women in their lives. So that's an important skill set to have. And when we teach our workshops, we define intimacy in, to, me, see. Yeah. See into my depths. I choose you as one of the special people that I will reveal my inner life to. Not everybody gets to know that. In fact, most people don't get to, but you're that special. And that's a good deal when couples make that kind of a deal.
Yeah.
And I believe that they should do it early in the relationship too. I know that I differ from some of the colleagues in my field who think you're supposed to keep your image up for the first several months And I don't believe you tell your deepest and darkest secrets on the first date necessarily. But early in the relationship, my husband and I, when we teach our classes, we call it putting your worst foot forward. If you've got some issues, not to be closeted about them. Yeah, tell the truth. And if they don't go running for the hills and they say, I could understand why you feel that way, you got a player there. Do you know? And maybe they'll get real with you too. You might as well not waste time. I hate waste.
And it's important to reveal your true self because that's your reality. That's who you are. That's your authenticity.
That's right.
And eventually that's going to show up.
Mhm. I always tell people when they're putting their dating profile up on the site, be sure that it's present picture, not something that's years old. Represent yourself fairly and tell the truth about what it is that you really want, not just your interests in common. If you really want a partnership, tell the truth about that. Don't pretend that you're casual. Do you know, if you just want casual, tell the truth about that. Just get as real as you can right away. It's going to help you weed through the emails that come and the texts that come and the people who aren't eligible. You know, get down to business and see who's really right for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, based on your experience and your knowledge, what would you say are the top 5 things people need to focus on when wanting to either improve communication with another person or begin to, the beginning of a relationship, to build on that relationship to create a positive foundation?
Mhm. So the first thing I would say is take regular time to communicate. Not less than once a week, more is better. I think it's essential for people to, you always hear about I statements, but to reveal what they are thinking, what they are feeling, what they are needing, and then be quiet and let the other person have their turn. Because some people are they're quicker on the draw, they're more adept at expressing themselves, and that's why I emphasize this listening so much, that those of us who are really adept at speaking easily need to practice committed listening so that we are giving that person a chance to come forward with our silence, with our curiosity and wonder, with our determination to draw them out. So the listening is very, very important. I would say don't avoid the tough issues. Now, you might not want to talk about the 100-pound weight right away. You might want to work up to it, but take the 30, 40, 50-pound issues that people would rather leave in the denial zone and bring those in. Do you know, I'm always flabbergasted when a couple is planning their wedding and they haven't had the conversation about whether they want to have children or not. I mean, it totally blows my mind. It's so basic. I asked my husband the first week I met him, this is 50 years ago, and I just didn't want to waste time. I could tell I was falling in love with him the first week. I said, tell me now if you don't want to have children, because I really want to have children. I'm committed to having children no matter what. And I'm committed to having a career. So if you want to stay at home mommy, I'm not your gal. And he said, yeah. Kind of flustered him, you know, that I was so bold right that early. But he said, yes, I do want to have kids eventually. And I do think it would be nice if my wife worked. So then I let myself fall more in love with him. But to talk about the things that are really important to you early in the relationship and on an ongoing way. So I would say that's essential. This is related to it, but the most difficult issues must not be avoided. Do you know, if you've got kooky members in your family, they're eventually going to meet them. They might as well know. A lot of us have kooky members in our family. Do you know, if spiritual practice is so important to you and that you must have regular periods on a daily basis, that you're sequestered. Even if you're not into spiritual practice. Some people are so introverted that they need a lot of solitude. Negotiate for your needs. Say what it is that is your vision of relationship charming, of partnership charming. We don't get everything we need, but the things that are really essential to us, we might as well find out early. And you can only do that by risking having the tough conversations. The last thing that I would say, you asked me to come with 5, is catch the other person doing things right often. And part of emotional intimacy is risking saying, I feel disappointed, or I'm irritated, or I'm angry, or I'm resentful. But it's also, I am so grateful to you that you share power and decision making with me, and that you didn't decide we were going on this date, that you asked me what I wanted to do. Because going to ice skate was not on my agenda, but walking in the park is. Do you know, the shared decision making? And when a partner acknowledges the other person, they feel so good that they are doing things right, because they won't always be doing things right. They may be knocking themselves out to try to do everything to please, but you can't always please them, because you don't know each other in the beginning very well yet. And even later into the relationship, you may be taking things for granted. They may have changed. Maybe the thing that lit them up before doesn't light them up now. So to acknowledge them for when they're paying attention and when they're showing their value to you and making your life a little easier. The old-fashioned way would be open the door for women. Do you know that kind of thing? It's kind of going out of vogue now, but there's so many ways that people can show their concern and their care. And we show our concern and our care when we catch them doing things right. And it kind of buffers when we have to bring something to their attention that's irritating us or frustrating us or disappointing us. So I think being generous of spirit like that, it really enlivens relationships. And when my husband and I teach our course, we emphasize this as one of the main secrets of great relationship. In fact, there's a lot of research now that the happiest couples are a bit delusional, because when they interview them and they talk about their partner, they rate them so high in this, that, and the other thing, and then they rate the family members and the friends who know them well. They don't get such high ratings. So I was telling my friend Deo about this, and she said, well, it's all an illusion anyway. We might as well have an illusion that makes us feel really good. But when you're acknowledging your partner, you're reinforcing in yourself how beautiful they are and how wonderful they are and how generous and committed and thoughtful they are. And it gives us a lift.
Absolutely. And it's important to compliment as well as to speak your mind about things that might be disturbing you.
That's being authentic. That's being real. That's emotional honesty. Sometimes people think of emotional intimacy as just the sweet stuff, what I love about you and all that sort of kissy face kind of talk. But emotional intimacy is sometimes a little raw, a little edgy, but it's so important. And when we did that research on the happiest couples, that was a key to their success, is that being real and being authentic.
Well, you've certainly given us a lot of food for thought about quality communication, being authentic, and being able to be vulnerable as well as loving in your communication styles. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to conclude?
I just want to make sure that your listening audience knows that relationships can be a lot of work. Not all the time, but periodically there may be rough patches. to get good help, to be creative, to have what the Buddhists called beginner's mind. Do you know child's mind? That's a very creative mind. If you've been doing something and it's not getting the result you want, try something creative and do it differently. But avail yourself of the good help that's available. And it may be weeks, it may be months. Sometimes people want instant, gratification, just go to a counseling session, a couples counseling session, a time or two. It may take a month or two or a few, but you should expect to see general forward motion over the weeks. And I just want to leave on this inspiring note. It's worth it. The work has multiple benefits. The research about people in good relationships, they make more money, they have better health, less cancer, less heart disease, take less medication, less hospitalization. If they ever have to go in the hospital, they get out sooner. I mean, this health and longevity stuff alone, but it's not just emotional well-being, it's physical well-being and living with the peace of mind. My husband and I, we're part of the positive psychology movement. All of the people in the whole movement that we respect say the same thing. Where you get your biggest bang for your buck in the happiness department, it ain't money. It's your closest relationships. So I want people to have a growth orientation, to learn how to grow a great relationship, because it's so worth it. You know that.
Yes, I do. It is. Thank you. Do you have a gift for our audience?
Yes, we have three. We have 3 free ebooks. One of them is about enhancing your sexual experience. One of them is about some things to know to end arguing. You can have differences, but they don't have to be arguments. And the third one is the 10 most important things that my husband and I learned after we got married that we wish we'd known before. It would have saved us some trouble. We lifted out 10 of the 101 things from that book that we wrote, the very first one.
Well, that's very generous. Thank you so much. Linda, it's been a pleasure hearing your advice and your knowledge and lots of experience, that's for sure.
50
And
years.
thank you. And I truly appreciate your time today, and I'm sure our audience appreciates all the information that you have offered. And we really appreciate your free gifts.
Well, they enjoy them. And I hope some of the listening audience will come to one of our workshops, because we teach in New England. We come to Kripalu every January. We may even be there twice this coming year. And maybe people would like to come out to California and do something with us out here. And do you know, we Skype. So people are referred to us from all over the country, from our workshops and our books. So I don't want people to feel that we can't help them because we're too far away. We Skype with people. And
that's the way of the future.
Yeah.
Hence, here we are.
Thank you for doing this work. It's very, very important work.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure, and it's been an honor to talk with you today. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Take care.